Hey everyone, so One Piece chapter 1085 just came out, and for the last few chapters, I have been saying that Oda is leading up to an Imu face reveal. And I'm genuinely very happy that he is still not showing it to us. The reason being, and I didn't realize it till I read this chapter, the longer that Oda hides Im's face from us, even while Im is taking such drastic actions such as, I guess, attacking Sabo, killing King Cobra, even in the midst of all this, giving this long menacing speech, the fact that he is still shrouded in shadow, the fact that he is still just this monster in our imagination that we don't yet have a clear face or identity to. He just is the silhouette, this giant lurking shadow at the heart of the One Piece world that has been ruling the seas for centuries. The fact that that is still the form that we kind of associate with him, that makes his presence in the story that much more intimidating. We got this long, genuinely a full scene with Im. This, between last chapter's ending and this chapter, we now can say that we had a full scene, a full elaborate encounter with this character, and it still just appears like nothing more than just a monster out of our nightmares. That is something, by the way, that I will be elaborating on further in next Tuesday's video, so wait for that because I think that is a very interesting one, now that we've got some glimpse into what Im's abilities might actually be. But saving that for later, I genuinely think that Oda is playing his cards very well with Im so far. This is not a villain that I think is ever going to feel comedic or anything like that, unless Luffy's Gear 5th happens to, turn him into a bit of a joke, which I'm sure will happen at some point. But I mean, in general, outside of Luffy shenanigans, I really feel like this is a villain that we're not going to be getting, as many gag moments as we have with certain other past One Piece villains. Not that we don't love the gag moments, right? I like seeing Blackbeard get messed up by random characters as much as anybody. I like seeing Blackbeard look like a bumbling fool, or Big Mom's look like a bumbling fool as much as anybody. I like Kaido's drunk phases and all that. I think that with this character in particular, and the weight that we're supposed to feel associated with Im anytime Im is on screen, on page, cannot wait to see. Even I, as a non-anime enthusiast, of non-One Piece anime enthusiast, even I cannot wait to see how this scene that we got today was animated. That's a side note. Im's presence on screen, on page, I think, needs to carry this sort of weight from now till the end of the story, because we're getting this character so late in the game. I think the more that Oda can do to try and really build up the significance of Im and try and really make us feel like Im is kind of this black hole, this sort of there's a sort of gravitational pull that the entire story is being I guess drawn towards him as the final closing point of the story. I think the more that Oda can do that, the better. And I think right now the fact that Oda is still hiding Im's face even in the midst of all these drastic actions he's taking, killing Cobra, giving this long scary speech, etc., I think all of that is perfect, and I would be surprised if we don't get a face reveal the next time we see Imu in action. But I think having this entire sequence play out with Im still as just a mysterious shadow to us, I think that was perfect. So this scene, 10 out of 10. This chapter, 10 out of 10. As for what Im was actually talking about. So Im is not Lily. That is confirmed. It sounds as though, we understand that Lily was, I don't want to get into too much speculation here, but a lot of interesting pieces coming together here. I think more dramatic than things that we didn't already know. But the idea that Lily was a good character, right? It feels like when you're part of the Nefertari line, Oda is going to depict you as a good guy character. She seems to have chosen the wrong side on the war for whatever reason, but she was a member of the D tribe, so we don't know what happened there exactly, right? Now, Lily, at some point, basically realized that she should be distributing the secrets left behind by the D tribe to the world. That was the great betrayal that she had, and that is why she was punished. Right. Im did not seem to know for sure, although he had a good suspicion, but did not seem to know for sure that Lily was part of the D tribe. He only attacked Cobra once that was confirmed by Cobra. Now, some people say, why did Cobra actually go up and reveal all this information to Im? I get the sense that Cobra has already realized that he is at the end of his rope. Might as well go out swinging, asking hard-hitting questions, trying to get to the bottom of things, right? Because he's at the end of his life. He's old, he's frail, he's sick. We knew all that right before Cobra went into all of this. So props to him for making the best use of his final moments that he possibly could. Cobra's dramatic death, I think it would hit a little harder if we didn't already know it was going to happen. Oda had already prepped us for Cobra's death, so I wasn't heartbroken or anything like that seeing it, but it still hits. This is a character from one of my top 3 favorite arcs in One Piece, a very prominent character, and to date, the best depiction of a good king that we've had in all One Piece. I think Vivi will be the best depiction of a good ruler ruler period when all is said and done, but in terms of established kings and monarchs, Cobra was the best that we've had in all of One Piece, in my opinion. Better than even Riku, better than even, I'd say, well, Momonosuke's got a ways to go, but certainly better than characters like Wapol, even better than Neptune, things like that. I think Cobra really was that guy. I think it's kind of fitting that the best, most pure, most altruistic king is the one that Imu has killed off in his first real appearance, considering that Imu is meant to represent basically the worst form of ruler, the worst form of authority. So I like everything about that. Raising the flag, that is one of the coolest things that I took away from this chapter, because that is a special moment that will mark a huge change for the world that we have now had signposted for us. So now we're looking forward to, when is this moment coming? Who is going to do it? This brings me back to Vivi, because I feel like Vivi's importance in the story just skyrocketed. I strongly suggest that you guys go back and check out the very recent video I did on why Vivi might actually be the sovereign of prophecy that the Sea Kings have been waiting on to go along with Shirahoshi. Interesting, like another little tidbit, but I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but just off that point, Vivi was asking about Shirahoshi quite a bit this chapter. I think that connection does matter. I think the fact that these two have been the two most prominent princesses that have caused a ruckus basically over the course of the Reverie, and they've been two of the main focal points over the course of the Reverie, I think that is something that is potentially important. So Vivi's importance just skyrocketed. She is of the D lineage. Her great ancestor was the originator, not the originator, but the cause, the trigger for all the poneglyphs being cast and strewn across the world. And she is kind of, I feel like you could say that Sabo is the inheritor of the will to raise this flag that will herald the dawn of the world. But it was a message to Vivi just as much as to Sabo, right? I would not be surprised if Vivi is involved in this idea of raising the flag to herald the dawn of the world. I think that a lot of these key characters, Sabo, Vivi, and Luffy, could all play a major role in different ways, but I definitely feel that with the emphasis being placed on the Nefertari line, Cobra's last words, and Vivi at the end of the chapter, of course, making her grand comical escape, I definitely think that Vivi for sure is going to play a bigger role than most people expected in the story. So definitely, if you get the chance after this video, check out that video on Vivi and her role as potentially being the sovereign of prophecy instead of Luffy. So Imu, Vivi, I don't want to say anything bad about Sabo. I know some people are trashing Sabo because Sabo ran away. It's like, we don't know how strong these characters are. It's Imu. We don't know how strong the Gorosei are, but he can't beat all 5 of them. And at the end of the day, we know what Sabo's character is like, right? The differences were drawn out for us pretty clear as day early on in the story. Sabo's not like Ace, right? Sabo's not like Ace. Sabo's a different character. Sabo's not like Ace. Ace's thing is he would never run. Even when it was suicidal, idiotic, whatever, he would never run. Because he has the blood of Roger. He's a Conqueror's Haki user, right? He has the spirit of a king. Like, that's just his disposition and who he is. He's not gonna back down. That's Ace. That's Ace. That's Luffy. That's who Luffy has turned into over time. That's Zoro. That's a lot of these Conqueror's Haki type characters, right? Sabo's not that guy. That distinction was drawn out for us from when they were children. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's, that's just differences in character, right? Sabo's not... He's not an idiot, right? He's not an idiot. He's not suicidal. He's not suicidally brave. You can be very brave without being an idiot, right? So Sabo is going to turn and run and make the escape in an unwinnable situation. That's just who he is. He could be like Ace, and then he'd probably be dead like Ace is, right? So there's a reason that different characters are written differently. If you want Sabo to be Ace 2.0, you don't have him, right? You have a character that is going to live to fight another day, and we know what Sabo's doing in the modern day, and it is game-changing, right? Sabo's right now at the forefront of the revolution to change the world, so Sabo made the right decision to run here. Yeah, Cobra died in the process, but Cobra was basically done for as soon as he did what he did, right? So things played out the way that they played out. I don't knock Sabo for anything that happened here. I think people have too high expectations of what he should be doing. Major props to Fujitora, by the way. I've said this in many a video in the past, the recent Aokiji video, final matchups videos, things like that. I have never seen or never imagined Fujitora being on the world government's side in the final battle because it just goes against everything that his character is written to be about. Why would Fujitora ever fight to help the side that is pro-slavery, pro-genocide, pro-oppression? Like, it just doesn't make sense for his character whatsoever. Right now, he is playing the role of a Marine because that allows him, that gives him the resources to do his job on an island-to-island basis. His personal creed or his personal drive being to help people, bring justice, etc. but he's never going to do that the moment he realizes that there's something wrong or something unjust about what he's being told to do. So it makes no sense for Fujitora to be on the world government side. I think that this was kind of the final stamp or mark of proof that he's not going to be one of the final admirals that the Straw Hats need to fight. So I think you can cross off your Zoro versus Fujitora fantasy matchups or anything like that, because it wouldn't make sense in the context of the story. It's like saying, I don't know, Zoro would be fighting Dragon at the end of the story or something. Like, it's just, these characters would never be on opposing sides. It makes no sense. So, that stuff aside, let's talk briefly about the Gorosei. Briefly, I say, because I don't have a good read on the Gorosei whatsoever right now. The Gorosei, I can't tell how strong they are. I can't tell how strong they're supposed to be. I was polling my stream earlier. Some people were saying that all 5 of them are going to be Admiral level or stronger. I have no idea where to place them. I've said in the past that I feel like the Gorosei are not going to be that strong just because the world government side is so stacked already, and there's only so many matchups to go around. But at this point, it feels like the Gorosei are supposed to be these sort of final boss subordinates, right? Not just final boss subordinates, but the final boss subordinates, because at this point, Im's got, he's got subordinates over here, he's got subordinates over there, he's got a whole slew of different characters that he can call upon. God's Knights, CP0, obviously the Gorosei. It's a litany of options for Im as who's going to be his number 2, number 3, number 4 guys at the end of the day. But the Gorosei, they're all Zoan types, it looks like, but at the same time, I can't imagine what mythical zones, because I feel like if they're that strong, they need to be mythical zones. I can't imagine what mythical zones line up with everything that we're seeing here, right? Because there's just so many options. I mean, you need 5 really strong mythical zones to round out this group. I have no idea what's going to happen with the Gorosei. I am excited, I suppose, that there are 5 more strong endgame villains to go up against, but it is impossible, I think, at this point in the story to accurately guess who all the Straw Hats matchups are going to be, who Dragon's going to fight, who Sabo's going to fight, because just everything is coalescing around Im to basically suggest that, if... I think it's funny that at the end of Wano, if some of us felt that, hey, the world government side is looking a little bit sparse with how strong all of these pirate groups are looking, those fears are now gone. The world government side is beyond stacked. It is going to take a massive Herculean alliance effort to take all of these guys down. So, of course, we're all looking forward to that. The last thing I want to say briefly about this chapter before we turn to the community voice, one thing that I think goes underappreciated with One Piece at points is the use, one of my favorite favorite recurring ideas that Oda pulls from in One Piece, which is the former villain that turns into a gag. So Wapol is fully in that buggy Caesar clown role at this point. He's fully embracing that. I absolutely love that for this character, just because I feel like it's a way that Oda can, the reason that he falls back on this idea so frequently is not just for comic relief. It's because by making these gag characters so ridiculous in their future uses, he can make certain things happen that you kind of laugh at and wave away as without thinking about the logic of it, and Oda's able to move around and make things conveniently happen thanks to the use of these gag characters. So by that I mean, think about how many things happened throughout Impel Down or Marineford that were conveniences thanks to Oda being able to stretch this elaborate gag of, Buggy being this messiah-like figure for so many of the Impel Down prisoners, right? Think about how much plot use Oda got out of Caesar thanks to reconfiguring him as basically this gag character that can be molded and reused in different circumstances, right? Just to get them out of certain situations or be a convenience here or there. Think about Wapol right now. Because Wapol is, it's funnier to just laugh at Wapol and the situation than to fully think about the technicalities of, like, wait a sec, so they really aren't able to catch up to Wapol or whatever? Like, shouldn't they be fast enough? Aren't they CP9? Because it's a gag moment more than anything, right? Oda's taken the comedy of seeing a former legitimate villain turned into a joke like this, like just desperately running for his life, torpedoing out of the throne room and trying to get all the way to the ends of the world, not even caring who goes with him, Vivi, whoever, he's just trying to get out of there. That joke takes precedence over any sort of like attempt you might have to like try and logic the situation, like, wait, why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening? Right? Why aren't they trying to catch him? Whatever. You're giving into the gag because you're following One Piece rules in that moment, and it works because of the character that Oda's doing it with, right? So I think that that is one of my favorite. It's like a low-key clever thing that Oda uses throughout the story to get away with certain things that might make certain readers, I don't know, nitpicky about certain things, but you're too busy laughing and enjoying the moment and the reuse of a villainous character as a gag character to really actually care. So, you know, I think we'll get I think we'll get more uses out of Wapol like this, but he might have already served his purpose. Maybe he'll just be something fun for Vivi and Morgans and that little group to bounce off of, but I don't know, I was happy to see more Wapol's used through this chapter. I think that was an underrated part of this chapter. And now for the voice of the people. So this is from my top tier of patrons. So this is from Justin Holland, who says that one of these monsters, he's referring to the Gorosei, made Sabo retreat, is now on their way to Egghead to Luffy. So I think that this is a very interesting point because this is something I talked about on stream, but the Gorosei, right? When the Gorosei were first heading over to Egghead, we didn't really know what to expect. Some people were like, okay, Saturn's going to be very strong. Some people were like, no, he's probably just there to take over the Seraphim again. I think that this cutting away from Egghead, while initially it might have felt like, okay, we're getting to more interesting stuff, now I feel like by cutting away from Egghead and giving us greater context as to what is going on and what has been going on in the outside world, I think adding all of that context and making us truly understand just in what a crazy state the One Piece world is in right now, what the stakes are, and how big of a problem Imu and the Gorosei are, now that gives us so much more clarity and so much more understanding of the type of significance that is coming with this assault on Egghead Island. It's not just about the Marines attacking Egghead Island and Luffy potentially fighting Kizaru or anything like that anymore. This meeting between Saturn and Luffy, this meeting between the Gorosei and the Straw Hats has tremendous significance, and with basically the core group, you know, Imu and the Gorosei, they're them essentially being on red alert, right? Looking to cut out all, like, everything is falling apart for them, right? Their sense of order and control. Problems are rising. The secret's kind of getting out. They're on high alert at the moment, right? So we know that Im was looking at Luffy's poster. We know that Im is trying to cut out, you know, potential problems from the world. It feels as though this conflict at Egghead now just became a lot more important because we know that Imu is going to be watching very, very, very closely. And this is probably one of the most important kickoff conflicts, I suppose, to the greater battle for the world that we're going to be seeing. So I feel like a lot of context has been added for us by getting the cutaway first before getting back to the fight, because now we can fully understand how important the fight is beyond just the fun potential matchup scenario of, you know, Luffy or Zoro or Sanji versus Kizaru. So definitely excited to see the Gorosei potentially fighting on Egghead, but at the very least excited to see Saturn talking to Luffy for the first time. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all next week.